It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of May 26, 1995, the official start of the 1995 summer movie season, and three movies in general that, for the most part, are pretty good. We'll delve into them as we move along, so why don't we start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and one of the biggest hits of the year, honestly. It's the feature film adaptation of the classic Harvey Comics cartoon character, Casper.
For 100 years, he has wandered the halls of Whipstaff Manor.
Wow.
Waiting for someone.
There's a girl on my bed. Yes! Hi?
Casper.
Can you go invisible? That one's easy.
Now, life at Whipstaff Manor
Can I keep you?
will never be the same.
Cool.
Ghosts can't hurt you. Again, bone bag! Don't come near me, you spiteful spook! We share haunting stories, we throw parties. Pull! The parties are always pretty dead, though.
I feel like Oprah on hiatus.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
We have company.
Well, company loves misery. Oh, take a drink.
Get a grade. Dad.
Oh, one for all. Catch your pants before they fall.
This summer,
You guys are disgusting, obnoxious creeps.
Thank you.
Universal Pictures and Amblin Entertainment
Are we scary or what?
invite you on a wild, wondrous ride
Hurry up, come on.
to the other side.
Snonogram.
Casper. Catch him on May 26th.
Sorry.
So you wouldn't really think about it, but Casper is actually a part of history because not only does the film make extensive use of the CGI to make the ghost, but Casper himself in this movie is the first fully CGI character to have the leading role in a feature film, and that's really something very interesting when you really think about it, considering the way technology has been advancing up to this point. This is the first film to literally have a fully CGI character in the leading role. Also most notably that this movie goes for more of a darker interpretation of the friendly ghost in comparison to what we've seen before, the comics, the cartoon, and the film over the years, dealing with the ideas of death, and most notably providing a backstory for Casper's death, because that's something that could be very interesting to find out, and you find out in here how he died, and I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it actually does kind of work. I will say, though, when I was a little kid and this movie came out, this movie actually did kind of scare me a little bit. I was 6 years old, and I really didn't know what I was in for at the time. I spent a long time trying to avoid this movie as a little kid, but over time, I did eventually come around to it and got past my little fears as a child, and honestly, this movie is pretty good, but it is definitely a very mixed bag of a movie. I think on the positives, the special effects are very spectacular. I think they still hold up after all these years. The CGI they used to create Casper and the Ghost was ahead of its time, and they do a pretty good job blending in with the live actors too. Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman, they do a pretty good job working with the CG characters that they have to work with here. They're doing a pretty good job here as well. Kathleen Moriarty and Eric Idle have a little bit of fun playing the bad guys in this. You also have a good voice cast that includes Joe Lasky and Brad Garrett, and keep always forgetting the last one, Joan Napote as the ghostly trio, and Malachi Pearson as Casper is very good as well. I think the movie starts to lose its focus a little bit when it comes to the story, even though it's written by Sherry Stoner and Deanna Oliver, who have written a lot of our childhoods in the 90s, most notably Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures, and they actually worked on the Casper animated series that followed after this. Like I said before, there's definitely the sense that they want to delve more into Casper's backstory, and it's nice to hear. It's well done, but I think the film also has a hard time balancing the stories of Casper and his uncles, Kat and her father, the two bad guys, and blending them together in a coherent storyline. It kind of mixes it. It doesn't really have a good flow to it, is what I'm really trying to say here, but those flaws aside, I do think that this is still a really enjoyable movie. I think a lot of people should give it a lot more credit than it actually deserves. The visuals are nicely done. The ghosts are fun to look at. The cast overall is very well. The heart is definitely there. If the story had been a little more polished and a little bit better, this really could have been something really special. But for what it is, it's a fun, nostalgic time. I had a good time going back and watching this again. Needless to say, the sequels that came after this, the direct-to-video sequels, were not really all that great. And at least we did get a decent animated series out of it. The Spectacular New Adventures of Casper is actually kind of a fun little show there. Like I said, it's written by the same people that wrote this. So overall, yeah, the movie is pretty fun. Definitely could have used a little bit more polish in the story department, but for what it is, it accomplished what it needed to do, and it is a pretty well-made film. So with that said, let us move on to our next movie, and that is Mel Gibson as he writes, directs, and stars in Braveheart.
I came back home to raise crops and, God willing, a family.
So you want me to marry you then?
Well, that's a bit sudden, but all right.
Is that what you call a proposal?
I love you. Always have. I want to marry you.
In a land of timeless beauty, William Wallace was a man of peace.
I want to stay here with you.
And I with you.
You say you want to stay out of the troubles? If I can live in peace, I will.
But when they threatened his world,
Edward Longshanks is the most ruthless king ever to sit on the throne of England.
Scotland, my land, and the woman he loved,
I want a home and children. It's all for nothing if you don't have freedom.
he was driven to war.
Go back to England and tell them there that Scotland's daughters and her sons are yours no more. The rebellion has begun.
Under who?
William Wallace rallies new volunteers in every Scottish town.
We've come to fight and to die for you.
Stand up, man, I'm not the Pope. Get a flock of your finest assassins and set a meeting.
My lord, Wallace is renowned for his ability to smell an ambush.
We'll dispatch our future queen with the notion that she comes in peace.
Longshanks desires peace.
He declares it to me, I swear it.
You tell your king that William Wallace will not be ruled, nor will any Scot while I live.
He waits for you at York. If you are man enough to come and face him.
Why do you help me?
Because of the way you are looking at me now.
Where are you going?
I'm going to pick a fight.
Well, we didn't get dressed up for nothing.
We can't beat an army. We can't! And we will! Would you be willing, for one chance, just one chance, to tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
If we win, we'll have what none of us have ever had before. A country of our own. Mel Gibson. Braveheart.
Okay, I straight up lied because actually he didn't write this. It was actually Randall Wallace that actually wrote this. But this is Mel Gibson's epic film. This is the film this is a definition of a modern day epic movie. I mean, this is about as epic as you can get as a film. Mel Gibson, of course, directs and stars in it, and it eventually won the Best Picture in 1995, which was rightfully deserved, even though the historical inaccuracies are definitely there. But in a way, it kind of works in favor of the movie, and the movie still is pretty damn good. It's a really well-made film. It's some of Mel Gibson's best acting. The set pieces, the romance, the drama, the action, it just all works so well that you can kind of put the inaccuracies of the script aside, at least in this movie's particular case. It's a well-made film. It's a really damn good movie, and it really shows that Mel Gibson put a lot of heart and soul into this movie. Like, he knew this has to be his magnum opus if he was ever going to get any kind of awards cred, which he does deserve here. I think this is a very good film that definitely deserved to win Best Picture. in a pretty good year in 1995. 1995 had a lot of good Best Picture nominees, including movies that we'll eventually get to, such as Apollo 13 and Babe, and a couple of other movies that I can't really think of at the top of my head right now, but they're definitely there. This movie is definitely a well-made film. So many memorable lines, so many great action sequences, some great dramatic elements. Like I said, the romance is very good. It's a very good, well-made movie. It's the perfect definition of a modern-day epic film that we haven't seen in a long time. Not since the times of the Ten Commandments or Ben-Hur, those type of films. This definitely fits in that category. And honestly, I really don't have much more to say about it. Braveheart's a pretty damn good movie. So, with that said, let us move on to the last movie of this weekend, and that is Keanu Reeves in Johnny Mnemonic.
Good morning. This is your wake-up call.
The year is 2021. It is no longer safe to transmit information. Phones, computers, and satellites are all vulnerable. But there is a solution.
Your storage capacity? I can carry nearly 80 gigs of data in my head.
Input the data into the brain of a human courier, like Johnny Mnemonic.
Hit me.
How do you fit all that in your head anyway?
I had to dump a chunk of long-term memory.
You had to dump a chunk of what?
My childhood.
What are you doing?
Making a long-distance phone call. I got the goods, Ralphie. Now I just want to get them out of my head.
Now, in a future,
We locked on him.
where those who control the information control the world.
I've been charged with recovering the head of the mnemonic courier.
Everyone wants what is stored in Johnny's head.
Double cheese anchovies?
Johnny!
They were waiting for me, Ralphie.
Time is running out.
I'm a dead man if I don't get this out of my head.
I can get it out.
How?
A cranial drill and a pair of forceps.
For the future's most wanted fugitive. Keanu Reeves.
You can't shoot me.
Not in the head.
Johnny Mnemonic.
He aims the gun in his balls and shoots him right there. Like, I mean, where else are you going to shoot him at? But, so yeah, this is Johnny Mnemonic. This is Keanu Reeves' big follow-up to Speed, the movie that kind of launched him into sort of an action star, and this was kind of the test to see if that would continue on down the road. And at least in this movie's case, that was not the case at all. I mean, first of all, 2021 now, 2021 society is very different. I mean, in a way, they were kind of right about some things, but definitely not the way that this movie put it out. But again, this is 1995, and we had a lot of movies centering around computers and technology gone wrong, including this movie, The Net, Virtuosity, and I think Jade too, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll figure that out as we go along. But yeah, I think part of the major problem with this movie is that it tries a little too hard to be so ahead of its time, and yet it looks so incredibly dated. Like, those special effects that you see in that trailer alone are just kind of like, ugh. Yeah, they don't quite work so well. And Keanu Reeves is trying his best here with the material that's given to him, but it just doesn't work. The action is not really all that spectacular. There's no real conflicts that actually make you invested in what's going on. It just feels kind of pointless, honestly. It's a film that really does not feel like a film that really knew exactly what it wanted to do. It wanted to get out there with computers becoming more of a thing, and needless to say, it didn't work out in the end. It's a film that really has been largely forgotten, even though they tried to make you remember it, because last year, for some reason, they said, let's put out a black and white edition of Johnny Mnemonic, because that's what America wants to see. And nobody went to see it. No, it literally came and went, and nobody ever talked about it. I mean, This is not Mad Max Fury Road, where a black and white version could actually be pretty interesting. No, this is a black and white version of Johnny Mnemonic, and I mean, come on, man, you gotta be smarter than that to spend all that money to do that. And like I said, came and went, kind of panned. It was really largely forgotten, just like this movie was largely forgotten for a long time. It was seen as a major bust for Keanu Reeves, but luckily his career did rebound shortly afterwards. This is just kind of a brief blemish on his rising action stardom, but yeah, this was not a very good movie at all. Definitely skip this one if you can. Johnny Mnemonic. I was literally about to end the episode, and then I realized that Box Office Mojo screwed around with me again, because there was 4 other movies that I was going to look at, and then I didn't realize until afterward that it was already too late to get the footage again. So, yeah, Mad Love, Tales from the Hood, A Pure Formality, and Stalingrad. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to hold them off for a weekend when there's only one new release or something like that. I will get to them eventually, even if it's a 1995 leftover episode, but that was a move on my part that I should have really realized here. But Box Office Mojo, man, they can't just put all the new releases in yellow. Like, Casper, Braveheart, and Johnny Mnemonic were all highlighted in yellow, but not Mad Love, not Tales from the Hood, not A Pure Formality, not Stalingrad. Can't do that, but I will get to those ones at some point. It'll be in a week whenever we have one movie to look at, or at the very least the 1995 Leftovers episode whenever we get to that one, but with that said, that wraps up this edition of Time About the Movies, and I will get to these 6 movies next time around. Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep in the adaptation of The Bridges of Madison County, Fluke, The Glass Shield, Love and Human Remains, Pushing Hands, and Dance Me Outside. So, with that said, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, but until then, as always, take care.